Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's podcast. I have the honor to invite Professor Ronald Bakun to talk about Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. Professor, this is a big news nowadays. It's on the headline all the time.
It's just been probably the story of the summer, and
Yeah.
the story that is causing shockwaves through the whole MAGA movement. And I'm not sure where it's all going to end, but it's not going away anytime soon.
Yeah, I agree. And I think today our episode will be focusing on how to kind of read the body language, how to read the reaction, and also think about alternative way that Trump administration could handle this a little bit better than what they're doing. Apparently, they did not handle it well because his MAGA base is angry, is really pissed off about the
Right.
narrative. Maybe we can think about it in the alternate universe. We came up with a communication plan that helped them
Sure.
communicate this issue. Let's
Yeah.
say yeah, let's get started.
Okay.
So, Wall Street Journal actually did an article on kind of discussing how Epstein scandal fractured Trump's relationship with MAGA, and they actually got started with the mentioning of the Epstein in podcasts, like particularly those conservative podcast episodes. There are over 22,165 episodes analyzed, and they found a lot of mentioning of Epstein number. So you see, like the number here, it's already over 300 episodes talking about Epstein. So it's a very hot topic. And ever since after Pambandi mentioned like phase one, they're going to release the files,
Right.
that number kind of start to continue to grow. And when the DOJ sent out that memo, the number skyrocketed.
Right.
Apparently, people don't buy the story that there's no client list. There's no like other information about this case. You shouldn't care about this. And it's actually very interesting that I don't know if you watched the video how Trump reacted to the journalist's question on this Epstein file. So we can take a look at this first.
Excellent.
Epstein, it left some lingering mysteries. One of the biggest ones is whether he ever worked for a American or foreign intelligence agency. The former Labor Secretary, who was Miami U.S. Attorney Alex Costa, he allegedly said that he did work for an intelligence agency. So could you resolve whether or not he did? And also, could you say why there was a
So you start to see the question is asking the Pambani because like she's like listening attentively, right? You see her head gestures. She's like showing she's listening to the questions. But
Yeah.
Trump start to move his body, right? He,
Yeah.
he seems
He,
uncomfortable.
he's
missing
tensing
from?
up. Yeah, he's
Yeah,
no question he's tensing up and doesn't really want to talk about this.
yeah. This episode, this section has been like replayed so many plays because all the people who making podcasts kind of using this clip. It went kind of viral.
The
Sure.
jailhouse tape on the night of the set?
Yeah, sure. If
Hey,
I
Pam,
could,
could I just interrupt for
Sure.
1 second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration, but you go ahead.
Sure, sure.
So you see his body language, right? He got very defensive. He doesn't want anyone to keep asking questions about it. What do you see from his body language?
Yeah, the same thing. I mean, I think Trump was displaying something he does regularly when he doesn't want to talk about something, he tries to dismiss it.
Mhm.
It's fake news. It's not worthy of the time. And I think that's what he
First,
was
to back up,
attempting to do. And then she said she's willing to answer. So I guess he felt like, okay, I don't really want to go this route, but let her say something.
Yeah. And also you notice like when she is saying stuff, he put his hands kind of off the
Yeah.
table and kind of doing some comforting gestures.
Yeah,
Right.
it's a closed type of gesture, and it's just okay, I'm gonna listen to what she has to say. But again, he certainly wasn't pleased. And there's old Marco Rubio just in the middle there,
Yeah.
not sure what to make of everything.
I think Marco Rubio managed his expression pretty well. It does
Yeah,
he doesn't care. I mean, like,
yeah,
On
not
that, in
my fight.
February, I did an interview on Fox, and it's been getting a lot of attention because I was asked a question about the client list, and my response was, it's sitting on my desk to be reviewed, meaning the file along with the JFK, MLK files as well. That's what I meant by that. Also, to the tens of thousands of video, they turned out to be child porn downloaded by that disgusting Jeffrey Epstein. Child porn is what they were. Never going to be released, never going to see the light of day. To him being an agent, I have no knowledge about that. We can get back to you on that. And the minute missing from the video, we released the video showing
okay, I'm gonna stop here because apparently she's lying. Like, Jeffrey Epstein is doing sex crimes. He is raping young women. Why does he need to download any child porn from online? Like, it doesn't make any sense. He is making those porn by himself.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly, I think for most of us, it was sounding like, okay, let me give you the best possible reason of not releasing things.
Hmm.
Well, we can't release child porn. I mean, who wants to see that? Why in
Hmm.
the world would we do that? And it's almost like even if you ask for it, we're not going to release that. So she's tried to say that as definitively as possible. I thought it was interesting a bit, and I can't say that I've studied, just sort of the changes in a person's delivery as closely as trying to get a sense of when they may be lying.
Hmm.
But my gut tells me there was a little bit of change in delivery when she tried to explain the files on her desk and what she was referring to in her statement that people took to mean that she had a client list on her desk. And when she started making, JFK, Martin Luther King, etc.,
Yeah.
there was more of a quiver in her voice, and it was almost like she was lacking more confidence in that section, which sometimes we can associate with not fully telling the truth.
Yeah.
I can't say for sure that's what was going on, but definitely it makes me think in that direction.
Yeah. And also you can feel she doesn't feel comfortable answering this question. Like,
Oh yeah, I'm
her
sure
voice is
there's
shaking, you know.
it's definitely a quiver in the voice. And you always ask yourself, why is that? And usually that's one of the manifestations of nervousness. And you ask yourself, why is there nervousness? Sometimes it's people are ill prepared.
Hmm.
Sometimes they're talking about things they don't know much about. Sometimes they're lying and they're afraid they won't get away with the lie. And
Hmm.
so there are a lot of reasons why you might see that quiver in the voice, but the way I feel like it entered in more pronounced when she started to talk about the files on her desk as a way of explaining what she was meant in her comments, previously. That to me suggests that wasn't fully the truth. But I again, I equivocate here a bit because I'm obviously not sure. You just get
Yeah.
suspicious of what you
I
see.
know. It is very suspicious because Magabis does not believe a single word this lady says. And
Yeah,
also, when asked about whether Epstein was, intelligence asset
yeah,
or
right. We'll
intelligence
get back
agent,
to this. Yeah.
yeah, she used a very standard answer, like I'm
Oh,
going to
I'll get
get back
back.
to you, but
Right.
she will never answer that question. Like,
No.
she will never
Well, I
get
mean,
back to the answer.
again, in the backdrop of all this, I mean, this has a several year history. I mean, at least back to 2019. And
Hmm.
Trump, laid the groundwork with the base. I mean, Trump's, how his brand is associated with conspiracy theories and draining the swamp and dealing with the cover-ups of the deep state.
Yeah.
And he was pledging to people in 2019 that I'm going to do everything possible to get to the bottom of what happened with
Hmm.
Jeffrey Epstein. So he helped fuel these fires. And then you had, I mean, even in the hearings for Bondi, the FBI director hearings, this was coming up, and there were pledges made. So the base was anticipating action here, and
Yeah.
when things started to go, well, there's really nothing there. The base is alarmed, saying, wait a minute, this is a conspiracy. We're sure there's something there. Why aren't we hearing more? And Trump tried to dismiss it. He even was name calling his base, right? Weaklings buying into
Yeah.
the hoax. And that wasn't appeasing folks. So you shift. You now follow the Steve Bannon rule of, just flood the channels and
Yeah.
let's go after Obama. By the way, Obama tried to steal the 2016 election. So
Yeah.
you, he went back to his typical playbook. But I think the way this has built up over the years and the way people are drawn to conspiracy theories, and there's always been a fascination toward exposing, I don't know, fascination is probably not the right word, but at any time there's sex trafficking involved and pedophiles,
Yeah.
people are interested and want to know more and want to get to the bottom. And there are little innuendos about Bill Clinton over the time. And so it's not surprising to me that the usual communication tactics have not been successful here.
Yeah. And also, I think when she talked about the video, the footage they released, she's telling a lie because that video clearly has been edited. And Wired magazine actually shows some expert opinion that show the metadata analysis clearly demonstrate there's not only 1 minute, it's actually about 3 minutes
Is that
being
right?
cut off. Yeah. So this lady lied multiple times during this interview. So let me finish this one.
Sure.
Definitively, the video was not conclusive, but the evidence prior to it was showing he committed suicide. And what was on that, there was a minute that was off the counter. And what we learned from Bureau of Prisons was every year, every night, they redo that video. It's old, from like 1999. So every night the video is reset.
So this is a lie already being debunked by the expert. So from the Wired magazine. uh, let's review what she said in February 21st and 26th because Wall Street Journal actually keep receipts for those announcements. Let's look at this part first.
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies. What you're going to see, hopefully tomorrow, is a lot of flight logs, a lot of names, a lot of information, but it's pretty sick what that man did.
You see, like she promised a lot of flight logs, a lot of
Yes.
information, videos, right?
You're building expectations. I mean, this is one of the cardinal rules. I mean, just as you as a communicator, you want to get in the heads of your listeners to understand what they need. You also try to set expectations of what you can deliver them. Here
Mhm.
she's setting very high expectations of what they can expect.
So, Professor, I wonder, like, why did she do that? Because apparently she know Trump's name is everywhere in that file because according to the Wall Street Journal article, like she already told President, your name
Yeah,
is
back in
everywhere in the Epstein files. Why did she still go on to Fox and give this kind of promise? Like,
that's a good question. And maybe at this point, though, they were still going to share more information than was shared. And then a decision was made that no, we can't continue to go further with this. We have to try to stop it now. We have to just say, hey, there's nothing there. nothing of interest. This is fake news. This is a Democratic hoax. So let's put the brakes on.
So
Uh,
you actually think she, at that time, making that commitment, she hasn't looked into the files yet?
yeah, I would think that at that point, I don't see another good explanation of why she would say what she said here. I
Yeah.
have to believe she, in her mind, thought that they would be releasing some information.
Uh-huh.
I mean, they really went through those files closely. I mean, they had
Yeah.
teams of people working through those files, and again, it was back in May. Supposedly, again, I think the Wall Street Journal has been the one that's been all over this story. Uh,
Yeah.
they, she said, Trump, you're in it. I mean, a number of places, which I can't believe was a big surprise to him.
Yeah. That's where I think like it's either Trump did not tell them his history with Epstein, or they're just like completely incompetent. They just didn't see that coming, and they were, oh, we're gonna release all the Epstein files, and oops, like your name is everywhere in that document, Mr. President. And
Well, I mean, the Trump administration is a lot like Pittsburgh weather. Just
yeah.
hang around there. It could change in a few hours. I do think there's a lot of starts and stops and changes, of course, in a short time period.
Mhm.
So I'm sure they're all over the board in terms of how they're going to react to something. I don't think they come to a firm conclusion. And I know most politicians are like that. There's always modifications and changing in midstream. But I think the Trump way is one that on one day you say one thing, the next day you may say the complete opposite. You know,
Mhm.
there seems to be many more shifts with him and his administration.
Yeah, and now his MAGA base is really kind of
Yeah.
pissed about this situation, and they came up with a theory that you see one of the podcaster was like saying the theory he is leaning into is that our deep state has a penchant for getting rid of evidence and delay and delay and delaying until they can destroy all the evidence and
Yeah.
say, oh, there's no evidence.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's this deep state. I'm still not sure exactly who the deep state is, but yeah, it's a devil. The deep state's a devil, and yeah, that was part of this whole conspiracy that the deep state was trying to protect the powers that be that were implicated through the Epstein files, and Trump was going to be the one that was going to expose this, and
Yeah.
it just didn't play out that way.
Yeah. So from your perspective, how could the Trump administration handle this better? I guess
Well,
like we can just start from the Bondi side. So assume you're a Bondi or like you're the, speaker for Bondi. She already made that announcement on Fox, and then you later figure out, oh shit, the name is everywhere in the file. What would you do at that time?
well, that's a tough thing. I would be very careful what I said
Hmm.
anywhere until I knew exactly what I was dealing with. So
Hmm.
if she didn't know exactly what she was dealing with, shame on her for saying anything prematurely.
Hmm.
I always come back to you're straight with people. This is my general philosophy is you don't underestimate an audience, you don't overestimate an audience. You
Hmm.
you always think I'm dealing with rational people who can make rational decisions. Therefore, it is in my best interest to disclose things in a way that people are going to think, well, that's reasonable. So I think you have to say, and if in fact there was not much in those files, if that
Hmm.
is the truth, if you're Trump, or Bondi's essentially speaking for Trump, you can say, you know what, as we dug deeper and we had teams of people looking at this because we were going to leave no stone unturned. We did not find that much. Surprisingly, we did not find what we expected. You may
Hmm.
be thinking, well, gee, that doesn't sound right. Yeah, we're as shocked as you are. But there are some things we can release. So I think one, you have to express that you didn't have what you thought you would have there. And two, you would have to immediately say, and this is what we can do. These are the types of things that are there that we think shed more light and we will be releasing in this sequence.
Hmm.
Acknowledge what's there, say it surprises you, and then let people know what you will be sharing and when.
Yeah. So I think Trump administration didn't do that. They just released
Wow.
a memo saying, "Oh, there's nothing there. So stop
Yeah.
asking, stop looking at this."
Yeah.
And then he started to attack his base who asked
Right.
questions about Epstein. So that
He
apparently is not working well for him.
No, you can't. Again, there was a tendency, and we all do this. We go back to what's familiar to us and what generally works for us. But in this case, the expectations were so high. This had been building for years and years. Just dismissing it as fake news, calling people weaklings, trying to divert attention to Obama, Beyonce. I mean, go down the list of some of the things that have been said. It just didn't work. The
Hmm.
expectations were too high. And the expectations of Trump to be the one that's going to expose the deep state, now people started to think, well, maybe he is the deep state. Maybe now the current version of the deep state is the Trump administration.
Yeah. So how do you think he can kind of recover from this? Like, what should he do now, like to kind of change the sentiment among the MAGA base?
Well, I think he has to devote some time to talking about it directly, as honestly as he is capable of doing
Hmm.
it, and not ridicule people for their continued interest. You can't just say this is a dead topic, an old topic. He needs to help it come to some type of resolution. And I, just as I suggested with Bondi, I think for Trump to say, you know what, for years I thought there was more going to be available as to us to learn about what all Epstein was doing, who was involved, but then we find out, and let people know the number of people from the FBI, the number of people from the Department of Justice, who all was going through these files with a fine tooth comb, that we did our research here, but there's not a whole lot there. But
Hmm.
again, this is what we did find. This is what we can release, and this is when we will release it. For me, it always comes back to a little bit of straight talk, honesty,
Yeah.
not ridiculing people with differing perspectives, especially since you were the one that helped create those perspectives. You know?
Yeah. I think he apparently is not taking this route. He's saying that Obama and FBI
Right.
during the Democrat Party in office made up that
Yeah.
names, like put his name everywhere in the
Yeah.
files.
Exactly.
That's a pretty serious claim. So if he
Oh,
is like really serious about this, he should start investigate this and maybe
yeah.
launch a independent prosecutor looking into this case. But I don't
Right.
think he is going to do that.
Which of course will lead to nothing. I mean,
Yeah.
Obama, and through his spokespeople, are finally starting to say some things. I mean, when
Mhm.
he said what he said about the 2016 election, and Obama's interference, and whether or not this was criminal activity, Obama, what Obama? Well, usually we don't comment on some of this nonsense. This has gone too far. You
Yeah.
know, we're going too far here with these wild accusations. And part of why they don't respond much is they know it shifts the attention, and now Trump is controlling the narrative. So
Hmm.
one of the tactics to deal with that is to just ignore.
Hmm.
Once you start engaging, then it gets a longer news cycle.
Yeah. So I
But there's
think like
not, you have to speak up.
yeah, I think it's pretty common for, people like Obama, who's like quite influential and has a lot of followings, not responding to this
Right.
crazy allegations, right? Like
Right.
it just like sounds really ridiculous
Yeah.
from the current president saying
Yeah.
that stuff. Yeah. So yeah, I think the current time is really interesting because in the past, all those things you think that Trump cannot walk away, he just like,
Somehow,
completely,
some
yeah,
way.
somehow find a way to escape from that.
Yeah.
But right now, looking at this Epstein case, it seems like pretty sticky. So he
It
hasn't
is.
managed to shake it off yet.
No, this has been the one that has been the biggest challenge for him because I couldn't
Hmm.
agree more. He just is a Houdini. He's a magician in some ways. He just works his way out of things. And he may do it with this, but this has been more difficult. Again, I
Hmm.
think this whole uh, conspiracy around Epstein and his death and who was involved in trafficking. This has been built up for so many years. It's just not going to go away because
Hmm.
we say there's nothing in the files. It's fake news. It's a Democratic hoax. And shame on you, Mega, for even buying into some of this.
Yeah.
That's not working. And at some point, I think there has to be a little bit of shift in the strategy. And I think they will. I think they're going to see what they can release incrementally, feed the appetite people have of more information. They'll be very careful with what they share, for sure. But I do think there's going to be more sharing of information. I think it's inevitable.
Yeah, I think previously for things like Access Hollywood tape, grab them by the
Right, right, yeah.
and Gen 6
Yeah.
and Russia Gate, all this stuff.
Charlottesville, though, there's a
Yeah,
long list.
I
Yeah,
think those things.
somehow,
Yeah, I think those things pissed off Democrats
right,
and pissed off independent voters more. Is MAGA base doesn't care too much about those anyway.
right.
But for this issue is what MAGA base really cares about. And I think that's why he is not able to shake this off that easily because his MAGA base is kind of fighting on this issue.
I think you're absolutely right, and because this is conspiracy based,
Yeah.
this is there are unanswered questions. We know that Epstein, was with the rich and famous, not only
Hmm.
including Trump, but including people like Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
Okay, what extent were folks involved with him and his activities? And yeah, I think that people still have an appetite, and a lot of that appetite. Now, the Democrats, of course, are jumping on the issue,
Yeah.
and they want to ride it as long and as far as they can. But essentially, this has been the biggest part of the issue has been what it's done within the MAGA movement and
Yeah.
the visions that it seems to have caused.
I think this going to have some implication for next year's midterm election. Like if he didn't figure out a way to, kill the story or let his MAGA base satisfy with his answer.
Yeah,
Um, I do think that this could have some
yeah,
impact on those, hardcore MAGA base who
yeah,
really cares about the Epstein list. And
yeah.
it can be a huge plus for the people who want to kind of take over the house for the Democrat. It's like do some check and balances.
Well, I think
So
I agree, Bruce. The other thing, though, we have to keep in mind is so what will happen with the economy, and will the tariffs not have as much of the negative impact as most of us thought it would? What will happen in Gaza? Just as Trump, when Bondi was asked the question, tried to then talk about all his achievements and the unbelievable situation we find ourselves in the country. If he does have more of those kind of domestic and foreign affairs successes, he's going to lean heavily into those, and
mhm.
those may be enough to even pull him out of this. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we'll see. We'll see what they're able to release, how that satisfies, and then what happens in the other areas that he can lean into to try to get people to be at least somewhat okay with this whole Epstein situation.
Yeah, we'll see. I think we're going to continue to monitor the situation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Professor. I think this is
My
a
pleasure.
great podcast. And I think next episode, we are trying to comment on the potential candidate who will be, running for president in 2028. We can
Oh,
look at their,
that'll be interesting because I'm very curious as to who that might be.
yeah, so we can go through a list and look at their communication styles and see
Sure.
how do you judge their speaking skills.
Yeah.
How do they look? Do they look presidential, and
Yeah.
what area they can improve? Yeah, we
And
can
are
do
they
that.
electable? Do we think they're potentially electable? Because
Yeah,
sometimes the people with the strongest communication skills, they can look the part, but are they electable? Right away, I think of a Pete Buttigieg. I mean,
yeah, I know.
smart guy, I think very effective communicator, comes across very, very well. Is he electable as president? That I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I
that's
hope I would hope so. Or at least as a candidate, I think he would be a strong candidate.
yeah. I think he will be really strong as a running mate.
It's
So
possible.
yeah, if we can have a ticket of Josh Shapiro with Pete Buttigieg as a
Buttigieg.
vice president. Yeah, or Shapiro plus AOC. I think that would be an interesting ticket.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, with Shapiro and Buttigieg, you have two governors.
Yeah,
Former governor. Right? No, was he
he's
mayor?
he's a mayor. He's a
He was
mayor. Yeah,
mayor. Was it
yeah,
South Bend? Yeah, and certainly Shapiro. Yeah, yeah. Shapiro's going to be a force, a great communicator.
yeah. I think he just needs some more media coverage, like globally, at least national
Yeah,
national media coverage.
got some time. I mean, he's got some time, and certainly we've seen examples. When I think of Clinton, Carter, we've seen governors with less of a profile, much less name recognition, go on to not only become a party's nominee but win the presidency. So I
Hmm.
think it's certainly possible.
Yeah, so that will be our next episode.
Okay,
Thank you, Professor.
my pleasure. Take care.
Bye bye.